Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, 1978's Pretty Peaches. This is actually the trilogy Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome right here. But I am just looking at the first one, which has Desiree right there. There's the first one that we're looking at tonight. It's from 1978, directed by Alex Dorenzi. And Alex Dorenzi also directed the film that I reviewed in this YouTube page called Babyface. And Pretty Peaches from 1978, I believe about a year after Babyface. This movie is almost as if Quentin Tarantino made an X-rated movie with John Waters and then more. This is Pretty Peaches 1978. We have a girl suffering from amnesia. We have a remarriage, an interracial remarriage. We have an adventure of a girl with amnesia meeting different characters, different situations, different homes and worlds and jobs and doctors, all trying to heal this girl or manipulate her. And we are caught within the vulnerability of this girl named Peaches as she is whisked away situation to situation, from character to character. In many regards, this is an X-rated Pee-wee's Big Adventure, or The Night Before with Keanu Reeves and Lori Loughlin, which I've talked about on this YouTube page as well. Films like that, where we have one character kind of lost in a way, vulnerable in a way, and now their adventure is character to place, car ride to car ride, kind of being thrown into these different situations, and the movie is filled with characters. This is Pretty Peaches 1978, an X-rated movie from Alex Dorenzi, from the golden age of porn, as they call it, from this time frame. Let's get into Pretty Peaches, because I tell you folks, this again will also shatter your conceptions of what an X-rated movie can be or should be. Here we go. First and foremost, let's talk about the music for Pretty Peaches 1978. The music in this film is diverse, wild, powerfully cool. Like, in many regards, powerfully cool, like in Alex Dorenzi's Babyface. And here we have some barbershop music, we have some country type music, and which leads the way to some real funky, very, very powerfully cool jazz music. And I think it's the best way to describe it. It's powerfully cool jazz music. We also have some disco music in here as well, with actual sultry female vocals, kind of unknown disco songs. I believe there's two of them, and they're expertly placed. The music is expertly placed in every scene where it utilizes it. The music at the beginning of the film kind of makes you think this is going to be very lighthearted and almost take a very humorous tone to the film. And while there are some humorous tones to this film, if you like bad taste and very, very dark humor, there's also some pretty disturbing turns in this film. Obviously, sexy turns and shocking turns, and sucker punches all along the way. If you know Quentin Tarantino's films, you'll know that all of a sudden, like in Inglourious Basterds, all of a sudden a shootout will take place, and the tension's been rising for quite some time, and then an explosion of bullets flies. Well, in this film, Pretty Peaches, the explosion is not in bullets. It's in the unknown chaos that will erupt before your very eyes and ears and mind and heart and soul, right on the screen that you are watching, where a minute ago all was calm and serene, and then all of a sudden, insanity. Now, something that I also noticed that was much more prevalent in Alex Dorenzi's Babyface was the idea of insatiable sexual appetite, insatiable sexual desire. Characters saying, I want more, I want more, I want more, out loud. And in this film, it happens in one point, I believe, where a character says that, and it quite reminded me of Babyface in that regards. There's also some very interesting things at the beginning of the film about wasting water. I don't know if there was a drought in California at this time, but wasting water, and then later on in the film, in a bathroom, look very carefully, you'll see some signs next to the sinks that say reserve water. Was this legit? Was this really happening at the time? And if you look very carefully also in this one bungalow, this one kind of bachelor pad bungalow with like a ladder, from a loft up above, you'll see this like kind of rolled up flag that looks like it has a swastika in the middle of it. So some very interesting, bizarre observations that I made while I was watching this. Now, when we look at the cinematography and the style, this is a film that just has such high production value, such high style. It's like I said before, just like the music, it's powerfully cool. I mean, it's the best way for me to describe it, that type of cool intensity of like a modern Tarantino film, and what Tarantino, or the best exploitation films, from the 60s and 70s, the best drive-in films, and some that I've reviewed on this YouTube page already. It has that vibe. We also have some editing where simultaneously in different locations, and the edit kind of will flip back and forth a bit, but just great shots. There's just really kind of everything is very smooth, it's very slick, it's very well done. The film that has great dialogue, great characters, and great acting. Okay, great, well written dialogue, written. And as Peaches is meeting new characters throughout the duration of the film, there are also some characters that will kind of follow the film and weave themselves in and out of the new characters that are coming in as the movie goes on. Wonderful locations in this film. This really beautiful house, kind of bizarre wedding chapel casino, with slot machines, a swingers house, a neighborhood. There's a lot of great locations, a lot of interesting things going on. Now I'm going to tell you a couple other things that happen in here. We have a real enema in this movie. Yes, indeed, folks, we have a real enema that happens. We have a gang rape of a woman by a gang of women. It's so shocking and insane. I swear I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before. There's also a rape scene towards a woman. We also have a seemingly baby oil orgy, which is very erotic. It's wild. The lead girl, Desiree, is very sexually attractive, especially if you like butts, especially if you like thick thighs, especially if you like curves in a 70s disco lady looker. This was her first film, I believe, and she went on to do a good number, I believe, of X-rated films. We have, I would say predominantly heterosexual scenes in this film, man and woman scenes, but we also have man and two women, some tossing of the salad, woman to woman, massive orgy sequence, like I said, that might involve some oils, and of course lots of ejaculation. We have a maid, an older maid. We have people from all different ages and backgrounds and continents within this film. I said at the beginning of this video that I mentioned the name John Waters. And just like in John Waters' films, if you are familiar with his films, you'll know that at times there's like the dialogue takes on this escalation of insanity where everybody is screaming and there's just chaos. In this particular film, it's not like we have people screaming and everything, but our lead character, Peaches, Desiree Cousteau, she has a level of that chaos. And there are scenes in this film that have levels of that type of chaos that I'm talking about. Now, thematically in this film, we have some very interesting things because we have the ideas of kind of sexual prudence, obviously meeting graphic sexuality, as Peaches is a vulnerable character that kind of looks down upon sexual prowess and freedom and perversion of any sort, of sexuality of any sort, amidst her amnesia. We also have a doctor character in the film who was a teacher at Loose Times in Ridley High, which I've reviewed in this YouTube page, and it was also in Babyface from Alex Dorenzi. He states that sometimes you think it's your problem is in your mind, but actually it's in your physical body, which I found a very interesting little piece of reverse wisdom there, because typically it's the other way around. Typically, you hear it's only in your mind. It's only in your mind. It's only in your mind. You're nauseous, but you're not actually sick. It's your mind, your anxiety, your panic doing that. Well, in this case, the reversal became a theme in the film, and also part of the rehabilitation, even sexually, as sexuality is looked at as rehabilitation, reformation, um, a redemption of sorts. Um, and we even have, I gotta say, there is something that happens at the end of this movie. The scene is very, very sexy, very sexually captivating and erotic, but I'm not going to give it away. But there's a twist that happens at the end of this movie that you could only get away with in an X-rated film. I mean, this is a film that deals with so many politically incorrect things, just like Babyface, and it's done so beautifully and perfectly. And I say that with the most positive ever, the most positive emphasis ever, the politically incorrectness of it, because it's beautiful to see a movie like this, especially nowadays when no movies would ever be made like this. But there's a twist at the end that is both darkly humorous, shocking, and possibly sexual in on some basis, at least in the context or at least in the atmosphere, maybe not directly. This is a wild movie that is also extremely sexy, but also not sexy, and disturbing, dark, funny, adventurous, weird and bizarre, sucker punching, artistic, and powerfully cool. This is 1978's Alex Dorenzi's Pretty Peaches Part 1. I'll most likely be looking at the sequels. I will be. Pretty Peaches 2 and Pretty Peaches 3 on this YouTube page in the future. So many movies. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bazaar YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like 1978's Pretty Peaches. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.